Hey guys, it's Omar Colombo, your host with the most. Thanks for tuning into the Most Show. I'm here with Mike Leichen today. Woo! Thanks for that, Mike. Always the interpreter over here. So let's just jump right into this, Mike. What do we got going on today, brother?
You know, today we're going to talk what's on everyone's mind, Omar. Obviously, this corona pandemic that's going on, all the social distancing that we've all been trying our best to do, and clearly what it means for the AV industry that we're all in and what the future looks like.
Totally agree. And quick little disclaimer here. Podcast is being recorded by phone chats in according to social distancing. So thank you for that. And another one real quick is all guests on today's show are providing information which is guided towards assisting unemployed freelancers and should not be taken as professional or legal advice, but it is damn good advice if I tell you it so myself.
I think it will be some excellent advice that we're going to look forward to hear today, Omar, you know?
I agree. And go ahead and why don't you give me a little rundown of who we got here with us today?
So today we're going to be recapping Miami Super Bowl weekend from an AV perspective with none other than Eddie Pabon from the sunny side of South Florida. Also tuning in from Chicago, Illinois will be Anthony Menconi, or AJ. He's with 25/8 Production, and he's been in the industry for over 20 years now. He'll be able to give us information and updates on such stuff as the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Act, deferring payments on your credit cards for as long as 60 days, as well as updates on news regarding the largest banks that are funding some of our biggest AV giants. Then to cap the show, we'll be joined by Bob Lidell of Access Productions. He's based in Miami, Florida, and he will guide us on how small business owners can find benefit from new government incentives and what it takes to apply.
So, Mike, we got a pretty intense crew here. We got some good
I'm really excited. You know, we have some heavy hitters here, and I'm personally excited to hear about, you know, some of the information they have to share, because I know all of us are trying to play catch up with what's the information coming out, how does it apply to us, you know, what's upon the horizon. So there's a lot of stuff that I am myself looking forward to today, for sure.
Yeah, no, me too. And you got a great lineup. You made some names, some good friends of mine, some good mentors of mine. So I'm excited to talk to them about these things, these super great topics. The first person we're going to bring on board right now would be Eddie. Eddie, you there?
Yeah. How's it going,
Eddie,
guys?
what's up, man? How you doing, buddy?
Good.
You know, we were talking about you and what you've been doing with the Super Bowl. And first of all, how many years have you been doing that for?
13.
Wow. You know, that's pretty incredible. We do know that Miami this last year had the Super Bowl about a month ago now. Can you tell us a little bit about how significant that was for you to work in your hometown for the Super Bowl?
It was actually very rewarding due to the fact that, you know, the weather permitted us to not go through crazy challenges like we have had in the past, you know, like in Minnesota and Dallas. And, you know, with, you know, all temperatures and weathers, you know, that are very challenging. You know,
right.
And, you know, the way we do it, it's, you know, we do a lot of outside stuff, rehearsals, and it entails, you know, being out there in crazy temperatures. So being out here in you know, clear skies was beautiful. It was beautiful. Wearing shorts and T-shirts, and, you know, the weather was just rewarding for all of us. So it was great. It was great.
So that's really cool, Eddie. Let me ask you this. You were talking about the hours and everything you guys worked. You know, how was it compared to other places you've done Super Bowl so far, other than being back home?
It was the same, more or less, with the exception that the people that were here, part of the halftime show, were amazing. So we did suspend 2 rehearsals, and then we did suspend 1 dress rehearsal due to the fact that the stadium and NFL was very touchy about the field. That was a big thing. When they constructed that new roof on Hard Rock Stadium, a lot of the field does not get the proper sunlight. So they were bringing in hydroponic, big monster hydroponic things that they were putting on the field to keep, you know, to put sunlight on it, to keep the field, you know, nice and healthy.
It has to be a Miami problem, because the Marlins Park has the same problem. They don't get sunlight in certain parts of the That's so crazy. I didn't know that.
No, that is super interesting.
So we couldn't rehearse. They were like, you cannot be stepping on the field. They did put a tarp over the field when we were there. Obviously, it marked the field. There was markers on the field on top of the tarp. So, that was the only challenge, that we had to make sure that we took care of every rehearsal, that every rehearsal was 100%, because we knew that we might not be able to get on the field again and rehearse.
I believe that. Eddie, I want to ask you about the labor force. And do you see a lot of outsiders, or was it a lot of Miami-based people that were working there in Miami Gardens at the Hard Rock?
So here's how it goes. Every stadium that we go to in different states, different cities, union is responsible for building whatever needs to be built, as far as all the truss, anything that gets put up on inside the stadium. That's all union. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Every stadium, all union, 100%.
So
that's who the labor is.
Did you feel like you saw more Miami-based guys, or you saw more out?
Oh, yeah. No, 100%. Local 500 was here.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Yeah. They were here, strong. Obviously, you saw some people here and there that flew from different, states, but they're also union, So it's all union labor as far as being inside the stadium. Anything outside the stadium can usually other companies, labor companies, local labor companies. But as far as stadium stuff, that's all union.
And does the Super Bowl have any rules or anything like that about when they're coming into a city, how much labor has to be inside versus outside?
No.
No? Okay, cool.
No, whatever's required, whatever's needed, they bring it.
I believe that, Eddie. And so how are those days? I know there's a lot going into that halftime performance that everyone watched, captivated the nation. Tell me about some of those rehearsal days and how long you worked and how it was overall.
Well, we did 20 days straight. That's what we were locked down for as far as contract.
Very nice.
And we were, it all varies, it like this year was probably the easiest year we've
really.
Mostly because of the weather. So when you're not dealing with bad weather and you have great sunny days, you don't have to get out of your hotel 2 hours before or an hour before.
That makes sense.
And and prepare for the day. We usually prepare the day before. We have it all ready to go. Our trucks are packed with all the gear and everything. So this year we didn't have to run into, weather conditions. So it was perfect. And we even canceled a few days because the rehearsals went amazing and we didn't have to do it again.
That's awesome.
As far as long hours, we work long hours. We're doing 17-hour days.
Wow.
Just on the regular, we're used to it.
I believe it. I'm sure after all the long days, though, there had to have been some good times and some funny experiences that you and the guys that I know you travel with have gone through.
Oh yeah, and the two local guys that we picked up this year, they came in running like they knew what they were doing, and it was so much easier for us. It was in our department. We take care of. We're like the Marines of the whole entire production. We come in, we're the first ones in and the last ones out. And we take care of wardrobe. We take care of casting, which, they bring all the people and they do all the documentation, the legal documentation on everyone that's part of that Super Bowl halftime show. And then we take care of choreography. All the choreographers that teach all the moves.
Do you dance, Eddie? Do you dance?
I try not to. I try not to. But sometimes I'm told, that I got to participate and, show people what's expected of them. So they, choreography team teaches us what's up, and we handle it. But mostly we do, like I said, all that. We, assist with all that information, with all the tools that they need for those departments. And then we come in and we handle all the audio, and we bring all the props for the whole entire, rehearsal. We also feed them and we hydrate them.
Wow.
And we're talking about thousands of people. So this is, our trucks are packed. You can imagine. We have pallets of water. We bring, we accept the food arrives, and we feed thousands. And then we set up hydration. Yeah, we set up hydration stations. We set up all the speakers on the field, and we have, I connect the transmitter into my auxiliary, to my board. So we have in-ears, little transmitter, little RF radios.
Right.
So everybody on the field can be on time with whatever we're playing back and whatever the head choreographer is talking to them in their ears. Nice. We try not to pump up the music too much because we are in outside facilities, and we don't want, to, like, for example, to play the music too loud to where other people in the area are listening to the halftime show.
Yeah, in that case, they might have to deal with it because, it's a one time in a wild thing. But Eddie, I do want to shift to something past that in terms of all this unemployment talk. The Super Bowl is obviously over now. It was awesome. I'm glad it was in our city.
I'm glad we got to do it.
I got plenty of work.
Hold on, before you move, I got to ask, Eddie, listen, guys from, we travel everywhere. We see stuff behind the scenes. I got to know, Jalen and Shakira, are they down to earth backstage or are they prima donnas?
Oh my God, they were going at it. They changed. There was a lot of changes. I'll be honest with you. A lot of people have no idea. They were like, okay, so the show is 13 minutes. Okay. Right. The actual show is 13 minutes. They had their audio show with other songs was like 25, 30 minutes long. So production was like, listen, girls, you gotta slow it down. You gotta cut this entire show to 13 minutes. So you girls gotta figure it out. You gotta, you're gonna split the time. Both of you get 6.5 minutes. And they were like, they made it seem on camera for the whole world that they were like super cool with each other.
Of course.
That was not the case.
Oh, wow.
You got two alpha females, just,
tough. That is tough.
That was not the case.
Eddie, I do want to shift and talk about what you're doing during the current situation, and how's it feel, obviously, to be stuck at home and not have any work going on? I know it's got to be tough. I know. Believe me, we're all in it together, but I want to get your take on it.
Well, it's not easy. It's kind of difficult because you know how it is. We're all busy. All of us. We're all traveling.
Yes.
We're hardly even here at home.
Yeah.
So to be here now for inside my house, it's very difficult. It's tough, But I've been, playing with my guitars, and I've been DJing. Yesterday, I DJed a quarantine festival, online quarantine festival.
I tuned in, by the way, for a few minutes, Eddie. I
did tune in. That was nice. Awesome, Eddie.
In the background, but it was pretty dope.
Nice. Yeah, and I've been doing a lot of that. On my Facebook page, I get on and do my little mixes and stuff, and just play my guitars. And
let me ask you this, Eddie. Because you work with a bunch of guys, and you're the leadership in the industry, and you travel a lot. Have you communicated, or has the guys communicated with you and your teams, and how are they doing? What have they told you?
For example, the people in Vegas. I'm in Vegas a lot, and I have a crew out there, and they're pretty bummed out. They're a lot of their shows. Well, most of their shows got canceled, and then they told me that they closed the casinos. So it's like they can't even go gamble anymore. It's like the whole entire Vegas is shut down. Even the lights, they shut the lights down. It's like it's dark. The whole strip is dark. So they thought they would have never in their lifetime see something like that happen.
Right.
And it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad.
That is crazy. I mean, you can't think of something like the Vegas Strip literally coming to a standstill. It's one thing for Miami Beach, where some of us are here. But something as iconic as the Vegas Strip just completely coming to a standstill, that's got to be a sight to see. I mean, that really puts into perspective how this whole situation is just, it's gone from 0 to 100 so incredibly quickly. And that brings me to my next question, Eddie, in terms of how do you feel people are prepared for this? Are they,
No.
And if not, what are they doing about it?
Nobody's prepared for this. It caught everybody with their pants down. Are you kidding me? This is like,
I know.
It's like being in the shower and then an earthquake comes on. It's like, what do you do? It's like,
that's a really good way to put it.
You're real quick and to the point.
Yeah, what do? You're in the shower, butt naked, and a hurricane's hitting, or earthquake. It's like, wait a minute. Yeah. So
with that analogy you just gave, think of the magnitude of what an earthquake does to a city. What in your opinion do you think is, or do you feel is the time frame that we're going to kind of get back into the groove of being where we were?
Well,
or at least seeing those.
Right. From seeing what, for example, China went through and what Italy is still going through, and Spain and all that, I think it's going to be a few months. Maybe. Yeah. I think all this is going to take us into summer.
And that's the problem is down here, at least South Florida, summer is traditionally a slow time for us because of the heat. No one likes to have conventions when it's so hot.
Here's the thing.
What's the workaround?
Here's the thing. This virus doesn't do good in hot temperatures. So don't forget that. It doesn't survive past 75 or 85, I think it is. So maybe it's a good idea for all these companies to come to South Florida where it's hot to do their conventions. Because it's a secure environment to where you don't have to worry about the coronavirus because it's too hot. It won't survive.
I haven't thought about that in terms of them coming here for that strict purpose. The thing is, how do you feel about how, they have to plan this out? And even if they started planning now, they can't foresee what June's going to have or what July is going to have. They would have to start planning in June. And by that time, it's almost too late. I mean, all hotels here are still shut down, as you know, Eddie. Or if you haven't known, I'm close to Miami Beach here and took a bike ride the other day along it and went up to the Fontainebleau. Everyone's worked at the Fontainebleau and never seen that place like that. There was 2 cops inside that came and said hello, but besides that, it was a ghost town, and that was something I never saw, never expect to see again. The idea of people coming here, though, because of the heat, I mean, we can only hope, right?
It's the most logical thing. Think about it. This virus thrives on cold weather. So if all these companies, what are they going to do? Keep it up north, keep all their conventions up north where the temperature is still somewhat not as favorable,
Right. I do want to add, outside of the science, because I'm not really a COVID scientist or like that. So, I don't know the exact stuff. And trust me, I believe you, Eddie. I will add to the MPI did do a podcast, not a podcast, a stream about a week or 2 ago. And they said that a lot of the hotels and a lot of the convention centers down here in South Florida are booking for the summertime right now. So in conjunction, that is kind of in the works. And the one of the caveats they said that they enjoyed is that they're able to book summer spots at these seasonal rates when it's in season. So now a season where they're expecting to be slow, they might have some rates. Whether that is still true, when summer starts, because who knows what situation we're going to be in, is another story. But I do know that some venues are already booking for the summertime to kind of come back and do their things. And how big that event's going to be at the next portion, what the changes we're going to see, and the obviously the, I don't want to say madhouse, but the bidding wars are going to start happening once the season gets started.
Oh, that's going to happen. I'm just waiting to see what happens with that. That's going to be quite interesting, especially for everyone on the client side and as well on the, independent contractor side, because people will have a chance to work and it's kind of a free for all at that point because everyone's going to be in a drought for a couple months, right? And they're going to want to take work. And that will kind of present itself already a host of its new problems. And, I'm hoping that everyone can kind of band together and do what we need to, but there's no saying what's going to happen a couple months from now. I mean, I know personally, obviously, like everyone, my whole April and May shows have been canceled. I haven't heard from one actually that starts May 29th, but I'm guessing it's going to get canceled. It's in Amelia Island. When's your next one on the books, Eddie? Or has it been wiped out completely?
Well, one of my shows that canceled here in March rescheduled for August. Yeah, here at Intercontinental.
At the Icon. Wow. So that's the next one you have is sometime in August, the fall time.
Well,
wow.
Besides, they still haven't canceled the one in May for Memorial Day in Washington, D.C. over at the west lawn of the Capitol. So that is with PBS, and that's a show that we do every year. It's the Memorial Day festivities, followed by the 4th of July festivities, right at the west lawn of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. And if they decide to do it, I'm pretty sure that they would do it without any audience and because it's a free event. So
that's tough.
I would assume they would do it just for TV, actually,
But at least
it airs.
At least we'll be able to set it up. You'll still have that.
It would mean 2 weeks of work for me.
That's a big deal. That is a big deal. Hey, I'm crossing my fingers for you and for everyone out here. Obviously, we're all in this together. Eddie, if you watch our show before, we do have something called the lightning round. It's pretty simple. I'm going to ask you a total of 5 questions, and basically you have 5 seconds to answer each question. Are you ready for that, Mr. Pabon?
Let's do it.
Now, knowing you travel a lot, I got to ask you, would you rather work here in sunny Miami Beach, or would you rather be on the road, all things equal?
Miami.
Really?
Yeah, man.
And why is that?
We got beautiful beaches. We got beautiful people, and then sleeping at home is the best.
Beautiful people.
That's definitely a perk.
Yeah, of course. Sleeping in your own bed and seeing your family, and it's of course. People look forward to coming over here, and we live here. So it's like, of course.
We kind of live where people vacation, and we forget that being here for the ones that are in Miami, such as myself. It's such a distant reality for a lot of people to see these sunny beaches, and there's all the glow behind South Beach, and we just take it for granted. I mean, I'm 10 minutes away from South Beach, and I don't realize, how special it is until you stop seeing it, in its prime, like it is right now, and everything's just shut down to a halt.
That's sad. That's the sad part, that we can't enjoy it.
Yeah, we travel to beautiful places and live in ballrooms.
Exactly.
That's pretty much. Speaking of traveling, though, we all travel abroad as well. And someplace like Germany, Eddie, which is known for their luscious, great beer. What's your beer choice over there?
I would take Tucher or König Ludwig.
Didn't go with the PBR on that one, huh?
Well, you told me Germany, bro. So when in Germany, you gotta drink German beer,
Ludwig.
But I would ask for it to be cold, because they drink their beer, room temperature.
In the Steins, yeah. I mean, depending on if you're at a beer garden, let's say somewhere in Palm Beach County, that's a different story.
Yes.
I gotta
practice crunching time.
Hey, we all need some type of release during this period. I'm with you on that one, Eddie. I gotta ask you too. You said before, you mentioned doing the Super Bowl for 13 years now, 14 years. What is the favorite spot overall you've been that has not been in your hometown of Miami?
San Francisco.
Really? Out of all of them,
yeah.
San Fran.
Yeah. Great place. It's beautiful out there. It's one of the most beautiful cities geographically. It's one of the most beautiful cities in the States. So San Fran would be the one.
I agree. And Super Bowl aside, in terms of working and going to a city, like Omar was saying, we kind of live in ballrooms. We travel to beautiful places, but we live in ballrooms. But What's your favorite spot to travel? I know I have a few in terms of just nice hotels in certain spots, but if you had to give a city, San Fran, you said for the Super Bowl, but overall to travel, we know you go to Vegas a lot. Would that be on your list, or that doesn't take the top spot?
No, it would. I just recently discovered it. It would probably be Vail.
Vail. I was just in Vail over Christmas break this last year, working in an event. That's a beautiful spot.
Yeah,
Vail, you know, in the mountains there, I was at the Four Seasons and doing a loadout. It was -8, and I'll never forget it. And my hands were freezing to the road
Exactly.
cases. It was intense. A Vail, that's interesting. That's really, really an exotic location. If everyone hasn't been there, you should go. It's hard to get stuff out there because they only have few hotels. I mean, everyone's worked in Denver, but Vail, you know, 3 hours to the west, it's a totally different story.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there.
No, believe me, I know. Eddie, I want to ask you about next year, Super Bowl. Dolphins
Tampa.
have a chance? Because of Brady?
Well, no. It's in Tampa.
Oh, it's in Tampa. I'm sorry. So Brady just went to the Buccaneers. What if they
because
win?
Knows, he's like, of course. You know, he's not stupid. He's like, I'm taking this. He's going to take that team to the Super Bowl.
You know, I don't recall, but do you remember the last time when a city played in their hometown? Because I can't.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't expect you to know that. That's a tough one.
I don't think it's ever happened. I think it was going to be the first time for that to happen when the Vikings a couple of years ago were in the playoffs, and if they would have won, they would have played in their own city, and that didn't happen. I think it's never happened before. So
wow. So you can imagine this year if it's in Tampa with Brady leading his team after leaving the Patriots, that'd be crazy. And I'm sure you're going to be there and you'll be reporting every step of the way. You know, we're going to have you on again. And that
I'll be there again with shorts and t-shirt.
Eddie, so thanks so much for being here with us, man. I love this feedback we got. I love that I got to talk to you. You know, it's been a while, brother. And I hope we get to do this again real soon.
Yes, we should. Definitely. Let's hurry up and quench.
Listen, Eddie, you do take care of yourself, man. It's been a pleasure hearing from you all the time. We will have you on again. You know, we'd like to hear more about how everyone in your side of the industry is doing, and hopefully we can get out of this madness within the next couple months, as you said, and things will start to look a little greener on the other side.
I hope so, guys. Hey, do me a favor. Stay far away from each other until all this blows away, because we need to get together again, and stay safe. God bless you guys and your families.
Gracias.
Yeah, brother.
Eddie, thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Got it.
Yeah, I just want to introduce next up we have Anthony or AJ Menconi from 258 from Chicago, Illinois. Are you there right now? Are you tuned in with us?
Yeah, I'm here, Omar. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah, we hear you. Mike, you hear him?
Absolutely. Anthony, thank you for joining us here. You know, given that you have 20 years in the industry experience, Anthony, you know, I'm looking forward to hearing some of your insights and hopefully gain some information from what you have to tell us today. I want to first start off by asking you, how's everyone doing in the Chicago area, all the AV guys during this crazy time?
Well, it's probably pretty similar to a lot of the other areas in the industries. Probably the toughest part about the pandemic is, unfortunately, it's peaking at what is usually one of our 2 peak seasons in, you know, in production here locally. Obviously, March, April, May, going into June is a really big peak season here for Chicago. So everyone's kind of hurting in that way. But as far as, you know, everyone kind of figuring out what to do, and we're trying to help out with some solutions. But, you know, we don't personally know anyone that actually has had COVID or has been affected by it personally as far as health, but obviously financially.
And let me just ask, as the owner of a logistics company, how do you feel your guys were within your team and just the freelancers that you work with a lot? Did you feel they were prepared financially, or they were, you know, they were just kind of hit with this and it was a left field blow?
Well, so first of all, I own 258 Production and Labor, and so 258 is just a playoff of 24/7, but one more. And
very nice.
You know, we are obviously audio visual support, and we provide AV equipment for productions. But part of our diversity revenue stream is we also do provide labor for production companies coming in from out of town. So in that labor that we do provide, there's kind of 2 types of labor. And so to answer your question, I really do feel the stagehands are probably being hit a little harder, as they are usually folks who live a little bit more paycheck to paycheck. The technicians, I would say, I don't want to say anyone was fully financially prepared for this, because that would just be a straight out lie. But I do think that the technicians are probably a little bit better prepared, because I just think that they conduct themselves in the way of more of an independent contractor or a self-employed business or their own small business. So I think that's kind of what we're running into. And, I'm trying to reach out to a lot of the regular guys and crews that work for us, just to try to, stay in touch with them. I do want them to know that, we're also here to help how we can. We're not just, avoiding phone calls, and we're keeping lines of communication open. I think that's the important thing.
That is really important. I'm going to ask you a similar question too about seeing any shows on the horizon. Obviously, like you said, it's impacting you just like us down here during a peak season, which couldn't be worse timing. That's an unfortunate thing. What's your outlook in terms of when things might come back to a little normal? Or are there any shows you have, or any requests for labor, let's say, even on the horizon?
Yeah, sure. So here's what we're currently seeing. Well, number one, none of our shows or work is canceled for June.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I do not want to be overly optimistic in saying that those shows will not be canceled or rescheduled, but maybe some optimism and hope, and a little insight to the future that at least I'm feeling is some of the shows that have been canceled with us for March, and these were also productions, not just like labor. They already have been rebooked for August here locally. So I'm really starting to think August is the go-to if we get anything quicker. I know it's a long way away, yes. But if we get anything quicker, I mean, that's kind of a bonus. But I'm kind of feeling like August is the go-to month for the reschedules. I don't think you're going to see anything rescheduled for June. I think if June just plays out, it's just going to happen or not. The other thing is, I do want to say we actually do have an industry event that canceled here in April that is the NICE Awards. It's basically an award show for the industry and different events that, people they submit their events, in an award show format, and they have a committee that votes on the events, and it's a proper award show. So that was scheduled, I think, originally for April 2nd. And they did bring it back though, and it is now rescheduled for August 11th. So considering that's an industry award show, I mean, that's I think that kind of says a lot for at least how the industry is feeling.
Yeah, I mean, at least you're getting things rescheduled versus canceled outright. I've had a few shows, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, and that's
for a lot of people that they've just lost them, and there's no hope for it until maybe this time next year, which is tough.
Yeah. So if I could, I did want to actually just say one thing to any stagehands or technicians listening. People trying to make their way in the industry. Maybe they're just starting out as a stagehand and, trying to make that jump to being a technician. I would just say, use this time wisely, and probably use this time to pick up your professional game. I can tell you that I probably manage over 1,000 different personalities in people in my lifetime or in my career, I guess. And there's kind of a couple things that are going on where I think people could probably step up. I do help with, there's a school called SAE, is the School of Audio Engineering. I'm part of the PAC, which is the Professional Advisory Committee for people who don't know. But first of all, what I do tell kind of the introductory level is there's a great saying by Jay-Z that is it says how does it I just kind of lost my thought there, sorry. So
it's all good.
But anyways, his quote is I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. So so you kind of need to think of, right out of the gate, if you could think of yourself as a business, even if you're just a freelancer. Make sure your invoices look proper for the companies. Companies like to hire people who are professional. I mean, I know this all sounds obvious, but if you could, cut to there and get there, use this time wisely to pick up your professional game, have a good invoice, have your name in your email on some level. It doesn't need to be Metalhead 99. So
it's
if
a big deal.
If Metalhead 99 is out there, I'm sorry, but I just want to give you guys a little guidance in that direction. And then one thing that's really big, if there's galas and things like that, just make sure you learn how to use an iPad to run your console, because in some of these galas and things like that, they don't want to see the AV. They want you behind the drape. Yep. So, just take this time to just, pick up your pro game and just use it wisely. That's the only, I just kind of wanted to add that in there. I know I'm a little off subject, but I do want to get those things.
That was great. And I want to, kind of jump on that with you real quick is, for the guys that are already in the industry, and before we get into that Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Act that we're going to talk about, what do you feel? Because I feel like that topic you just said is very, very important. And a lot of guys like, hey, there's this shift happening where your skill set is important, but so are your business skills for yourself, and so are your personal skills. When you're with the SAA, do you have, what is would you say your number one advice is to that stagehand trying to get to that lead position or to that level? Like, what would you say more than anything else, other than being a competent engineer in whatever field you're in? What is another thing you would advise these guys as start working now? Because if you're, for me, for example, I push a lot social skills. A lot of guys aren't social, or they don't present themselves well, or they have an email that says the wrong thing, like mine is my last name, first name, Gmail. And I tell a lot of guys, listen, 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose a job. It doesn't matter how good you are as an engineer. If you're not fun to hang out with, and you're not a good guy and you're not good in front of clients, I'm not going to call you. I don't care how good you are.
Yeah, well, that's all true. And this is the truth of our industry, and it's great advice. I think some kind of good rules of thumb is, number one, there's the golden rule is be early to the call. So, we all know that. Yes. But really, to me, what I try to tell the guys is, play the part and kind of stay in your lane. So know your role. If you have in AV, there's 9 ways to do a lot of different things, right? But don't be coming in there. If you're the stagehand, don't be telling the audio engineer how to do his job, because that's not going to get you very far, number one. But really just looking the part, I think, is very important also. Having a Leatherman or a multi-tool on your belt, having those black jeans or, whatever they're asking for, but usually the show, the show blacks, the black polo, the uniform. So once you for me, this is how this works. So let's just say I'm actually going to a new city and I'm hiring, and I'm calling Eddie or whoever, and I need 10 stagehands for my show. Well, there's 2 things I look at right away, because I'm not from that area. So I need to get a little bit of confidence that my show is going to go good, and I could actually focus on the things that I need to do as a producer or a project manager of the show, right? Mm-hmm. So when I see 10 guys show up either earlier or on time, and they're dressed for the part, they're in their blacks, they got their tools, that type of stuff makes me relax. And quite honestly, this is a referral, ask again business. So if you can prove yourself in the field of work, you're always going to get the call. I can guarantee every person here who provides labor, they have 5 or 10 guys on their call list that always get requested. And that's kind of that's what it is right there.
And I just got one more for you real quick. What would you tell somebody who's listening to this right now who might want to work for you, who's in the Chicago area? What is the number one thing for you as a, in your position you look out for when you meet guys that are new to your crew or whatever? How can they stand out or prove their worth to you? Like, what is the one thing you see that if this guy does this, I'm pretty much guaranteed to work with him again?
I would definitely say a can-do attitude and hustle. If I see a can-do attitude and hustle, some of the other skill sets can be taught. Those are things that can't be taught. So I would definitely stick with that.
I like that. That's some good information, AJ. We do appreciate that. I want to move along to about freelancers and how they're covering their basic needs in this meantime. I know you have some information in regard to the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Act. Can you give our viewers, and honestly, a few of us here too, a little bit more information about what that PUAA is? Who can apply for it? How does it work?
Sure. Well, I do want to lead out and definitely say I'm not a lawyer, so this is not legal advice. But we had owning a small business. We did have to, get on top of this right away, and we did see this coming down the pipeline. Once it actually started. So as far as the pandemic unemployment assistance, it's very unique. So I think this is probably the first time ever. And by the way, this is cited off a NELP, which I think you guys are going to put the link up to during your podcast. So you can get the hard information there. But anyways, the pandemic unemployment assistant is this has been the first time that basically a self-employed person or a 1099 worker or even a small business owner could apply for unemployment. So the other thing I need to say about this is the way that the unemployment would work. This is on a state-by-state basis. This is covered under federal law, but each state is going to be a little bit differently. So when you go to try to apply for this assistance, which is supposed to be up to $600 a week for up to possibly 13 weeks, you're going to look for your unemployment through your state online.
Right.
And,
so
go ahead.
It could be different in Florida than like in Illinois, like you're saying. The rules and how long they give it for, that type of thing.
Yeah, but the general federal backing is the up to $600 per week for 13 weeks. So, just like I said before, I mean, this has never happened as far as I know in the history of just what unemployment is if you're a freelancer or self-employed.
And let me ask you this part here, and I'm trying to play devil's advocate here. I know there's a lot of different petitions going on right now and a lot of different resources for everybody. I was hearing, and again, I could be speaking to the wrong one, that this is more of a tax advance, and you start to pay some of this back. Is that correct for this particular one? Or?
No, so that would be along the line of loans and things like that. Some kind of deferrals could be like that. The unemployment. Now, I do have to say, you never know if the state or whatever is going to come back and say, there's a COVID tax or whatever. But but to go straight with this pandemic unemployment assistance, what this would be is you have so each time you collect an unemployment check, at that point you are also able to say, hey, we want to pay our taxes on this income right now. So what I would just say to most people is you probably just want them to withhold your taxes from the unemployment benefit that you would receive. So then you probably wouldn't be on the hook for any taxes after this is all done.
I just got a quick little other one for you. So, with that said, on the tax side and everything, is this, I wouldn't say a tax advance, but is this saying that now if I'm a guy who hasn't done my taxes in a couple of years, I am now in the system, and now they're going to say, hey, yeah, here's your money. But now in the back end, they may say, hey, you haven't paid in the last 3 years. So now you owe me money.
Yeah. So,
is that the double-edged sword that we're seeing that no one's talking about?
Yeah. Well, so, I think to really, if you're going to think about applying for this assistance, you really have to think of, have you been an honest taxpayer over the last couple of years? And, that's a question you can answer for yourself. I mean, for me personally, I run my business professionally. So, we have paid our taxes. And so to tell you the truth, I actually went online to apply for this myself just today. So there is a 1 week waiting period. So I expect to see an email in a week to see how this plays out for myself. There is another route to kind of go if you are a small business owner, which I can't really speak to the funding and who gets that, but we did hear from our banker. If you are a 1099 or you're a small business owner or self-employed, if you're using this route, you are not going to be able to qualify for the small business loan. Okay,
so it's one or the other is what you're saying at that point.
That's the information we have so far. Yes.
That's really interesting, because I'm sure a lot of people out there wondering how can they get the best option available to them. I'm one of them, honestly. I'm thinking, how long will this go on for, and what can I do to kind of help things move along in that aspect. And I'm sure there's a lot of bigger companies out there. We all know some big, corporate giants, let's say, for the AV business. And we know some big banks that support them. Can you give a little insight about how they're dealing with that in terms of, some of the largest companies, audiovisual companies, and then the banks? How are they dealing with that? Because when these companies default or can't pay their loans or can't, can you give a little insight into that, AJ?
The insight that I could basically give is, I feel if these companies were running their businesses on the proper way you're supposed to run your business, I do feel, and they're showing good incomes, and just like when you would apply for a normal loan. I think if you've been exposed to the process of just getting a national loan for your business, I feel that you're going to probably be able to qualify for some assistance, meaning that, you had receivables on the books, or you have receivables down the line later, things like that. Those are all important things in the process of just, being granted the loan or whatever. So I think if, I guess my answer is if everyone has just, kind of dotted the I's and crosses the T's, they're going to probably be in a good position to have some of this help their way.
Right. I mean, it could be a different story. Say if a company has had defaulted on a line of credit, let's say for the past few months, they might see a little bit more tougher times in getting something if they haven't been making their payments, for instance.
I do feel, I don't think there is kind of as some people would say, like a windfall here. I don't think they're going to be in a position to, kind of be in a better place now than they were before if they weren't in a good place.
Okay.
And
so because one thing I can say about that, I mean, I do just hear people just in the unemployment kind of act in general that, people are just being laid off in collecting unemployment. There are cases that people are making more now unemployed than they were working. It is true, but I mean, there's always two sides of a coin, right? So, you can't, you can't win them all, but so I don't know. It's just kind of a funny thought though.
Just one more time to make sure that the audience and the viewers are correct on this. And again, he is not the legal authority of this, but he's giving really good advice. Who exactly can apply for this? Just one more time, who are those people so that they know?
For the pandemic unemployment assistance.
Yeah. Who are the guys who can apply for this in case they're not paying attention?
Yeah, no problem. So I think any 1099 freelancer can apply for this, or self-employed. If you conduct your freelancing like a business, like a proper business, and you have invoices and you can show, that you've lost income and things like that, I'm feeling pretty good that you're going to be able to qualify for it.
So it's for the people that check, for instance, like on a W-9 or a 1099, the sole proprietor, if they check that box, in essence, hopefully they should be able to qualify for this.
I would say yes.
Hopefully, yeah. We can all hope.
Yeah.
What do you think about deferring bank payments? Just for guys who are right now in the situation, who are already in the industry.
Sure.
And
so I did see a great article that was also linked, and that was from CNBC. And basically, it was kind of the top 10 banks and lenders. On that link, you'll see there's like Chase Bank and Bank of America and Citibank and stuff like that. But all of them are featuring programs in some kind of deferral. So I can only talk about my own personal one. Mm-hmm. So one thing I did do, I have an SUV that's roughly about $550 a month. And so I reached out to them, and I'm just able to just defer 100% and put up to 2 months of payments. At least now that can change, but I'm able to basically not pay for 2 months and just add those 2 months to the end of the life of the loan. So for me, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's an additional, it's not really savings over the life of the loan, but $600 a month, when you're making a good income versus when you're making no income is it's kind of, that $600 is important, obviously.
That's a big deal, AJ. And just to clarify, is that a finance or is that a lease? Because I'm interested in that myself right now.
So I don't know about the leasing, but mine personally is financed.
Okay.
And so I did qualify for that. And so just basically my monthly bill is just being put towards the end of the life of the loan.
So Mike, thank you for that, because I'm in his boat, so I'm going to make some calls right after this.
Yeah,
And so I do want to say
interesting.
that was specifically like our loan was with Bank of America. And so that might not be the same case though with like Chase Bank or Citibank or whoever your lender was. So I just wanted to give that as more of an example of something that did work out for us.
Oh, thank you for noting that, because I bank with the USA and, on the personal side, and Navy Federal for the business side.
So if people watching check that link, there's literally about 10 banks that are attached to that one link, and it gives a little blurb about each of them and what they're doing.
Excellent, AJ. That's wonderful. I want to jump to our part in the show where we call the lightning round. If you watched it before, basically it's where I'll ask you a total of 5 questions, and you have 5 seconds to answer each question. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. So we all go out with clients after a show or during it even sometimes. Now, let's say there's a particularly friendly client that you go out with. If you're ordering something like drinks to the table, what's your choice? Beer, wine, liquor? What's your go-to?
Well, in those cases, I always ask the client first, and then they kind of clear the way for what we could be drinking. But I'm a beer guy, so I like to stick with the beer.
I'm with you too. I love a nice cold beer after a long day. There's nothing like that, So yeah. I know what you're saying, though. Leave it to the client and see what they say, because you don't want to be too pushy. But I'm with you on that one, 100%. Now, during the show setup days, we talk about attire and how casual you are. Obviously, per position, it's different. But for someone like yourself, what would you prefer? What do you say is the industry appropriate? Let's say khakis, jeans, or something like you were saying before, the show blacks, like the black on black.
Yeah, I personally like to just wear the black jeans with kind of a black, nice black t-shirt, and just kind of black on black, but definitely black jeans. Not khakis. I mean, some guys wear the Dickies, but I'm a black jean type guy.
I think Omar's wearing.
I'm all about the khakis.
He's wearing khakis right now.
Khakis, by the way. I'm a khaki guy 24/7. I always wear khakis to the job site. I can't do the black on black. I have to have multicolor.
I'll tell you, you're not going to find many khakis in Chicago. I'll tell you that.
You'll see me then when I come down the street. Look at this guy in khakis. What's going on here?
Well, Miami, you guys get to wear shorts,
Oh, yeah.
Shorts are kind of 50-50 around here. Not all the clients like them. I mean, I don't really care in the idea of, a lot of our clients we have good relationships with, so everyone kind of knows what they're getting. I've
been a lot of shows in Chicago, and I wear khakis. Now I'm wondering if you guys judging me on my clothes? Damn. I'm from Miami, bro.
No, AJ, we've all had those TDs that are on headsets, and a lot of people, sometimes they can be chatty, sometimes they can not be. If you had to pick one that was saying not overbearing, but maybe he talks too much and he's trying to give a bunch of information, some right, some not, would you rather have that, a guy who seems like, or is at least acting like he's in control, or the polar opposite, saying a TD who are show caller who is very quiet and not giving much direction at all?
Ooh, that's actually it's kind of a tough one, to be honest with you. But anyways, I personally like less chat on comm, especially if the crew knows each other. But if you're involved in this large show and a producer walks in from out of town, if he's chatty, I mean, it's just, you got to listen for his call. He has a vision that he wants to get across. But I do prefer less chat, but I do see why the other situation is warranted, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that one too. Down here in Miami, we have, at least myself, a lot of stuff is very close to where I work. I know in Chicago, the several times I've been out there, usually I stay outside the city. So this question is kind of geared towards that in terms of driving versus other forms of transportation, such as an Uber. What would be your preference, all things equal, to get to the job site?
Oh, that is 100% drive. Drive myself.
And that's because it's a bit of a distance saying if you're not in the city to begin with, that you have to commute into it. You know, that could be any major city too, not just Chicago, but Miami Beach is definitely not that way because it's a small little strip of land. So everything is relatively close to each other where I can, Uber from my house cheaper than say to pay for parking, it's one of those things.
Well, I'm trying to get some value out of that, car loan I was just talking about. So I like to drive my car, my SUV.
I'm with you on that one.
That's now deferred to the end of the life of the loan.
You got 2 extra months. That's great. I'm going to look into that one too. Last question I do have for you, AJ, is this one was written by a friend. He's asking, where are you going to retire? He's giving you 2 options, Chicago or Miami.
Oh, man. Well, it's actually kind of easy because if you live in Illinois, Chicago, Illinois, the taxes here on property and everywhere are just crazy. So I don't know how anyone in Chicago, Illinois could actually afford to retire here. So I got to go with Miami.
You're coming down to the beaches, huh?
I'm coming out to the beaches. And plus, to tell you the truth, I do like Art Basel. I've been down there for that, and it's a good time.
Yeah, November and December during that time gets crazy around here. It's always fun for everyone, but there's always a lot of commotion going on.
I just want to chime in real quick, Mike, and I just want to apologize publicly to you, man. I'm sorry to take over your segment here with I'm just a khakis guy. You know me, man. But I'm really sorry that I chimed in during your segment there. But Mike, sorry. AJ, I want to thank you so much for being here with us and for talking with us. You gave out tons of good information. I myself just learned something new today, and I'm going to make some phone calls because I need that help as well, even though I'm looking into all these things as well. And again, thank you for joining us so much. I know that you're a busy man, so thank you for taking the time with us.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having us, guys. I mean, I just want to say definitely, let's get through this as quick as possible. And I think the best way to get through this as quick as possible is just stay home and stay safe. And, before we know it, we'll be through it.
And again, Anthony. That's Anthony Menconi of 258 Productions from Chicago, Illinois.
Thank you very much, AJ. We do appreciate all the informative insights, and we do look forward to having you back once again.
All right. Thanks, guys. Great show.
Thanks.
Hey, yo, Mike. So honestly, man, what do you think? What do you think about that information?
Wealth of knowledge. Let me tell you that I've personally myself picked up at least 2 major points that, like we said, after this podcast is over, I'm jumping right back on the MacBook and I'm going to start looking into some of that because the stuff about the car payments, granted, financing versus lease, that's a different story, but there was some really good information that he was given, and I'm glad he was able to share it to our viewers. And I know a lot of people will be able to gain and move forward with the information that he gave. So I was really happy with him. That was awesome. Yeah, no, that was great information. And I was glad he let us play devil advocate here a little bit and just ask some of those hard pressing questions. Cause I know other guys are going to be in the background. But what about this? And what about that? So, we're trying to get everybody's head. But listen, next up, I want to introduce a good friend of mine, a recognized pioneer in the industry of South Florida, a mentor. I mean, these guys probably know me since I started in the AV business, and that's not an exaggeration. I'd like to introduce a good friend, Bob Lidell. Bob, are you there?
Thank you very much. How are you?
Good. I'm really good, man. I'm glad you're here with us. I'm glad you're here to talk to us. I hope you're doing good. How's everything on your end?
Well, I think we're all in the same boat. I'm hanging in there and making sure that my, mine and my family is squared away. And I think that's the most important thing that we got to do for all of us. And I'm keeping it calm and cool because, I think we'd probably all agree that we don't want to let anybody see us sweat. It's a tough time for us, but our families need us, so we got to be the rock.
Yep, totally.
This is an unprecedented time that, I've been through a lot, like you, Omar. Actually, you've seen more than me because I was never in a hot zone, but. But, I was trained in the military to be in the hot zone. I've seen a lot of things that they taught us and what we were ready for. And I never expected to see something like this happen.
Yeah, totally.
But we're here. We're going to survive this.
And let me ask you this, you having that breadth of knowledge and being in the industry for so long, between the small business side and the freelancer side, what is your, professional opinion about everything that's going on, and how do you see the industry going forward now with everything that's happened, this time around?
Well, I think, yeah, I've thought a lot about this actually, and there are like the act of God things that's happened before. If you remember back when we had, I think it was Katrina that kind of brushed us when it came through South Florida, but it gave MTV a real kick in the ass, honestly, because they ended up losing millions of dollars.
Right.
And that storm wasn't as strong as it hit Louisiana, but that storm itself and the one, I think it was Norma before it, to South Florida, kind of rewrote the playbook for meeting planners and event planners in general. Where it was like, whoa, things can happen in Florida in October, so they started planning based on that. And we didn't see meetings come back in November from the national sense. We didn't see them come back until October, or September for more than a few years. So I think that this is going to make a lot of people recheck their emergency plan on how to do their meetings and how to conduct their business, and to be able to survive and weather the storm again.
On that note, Bob, too, how difficult do you think it'll be for people to get back on their feet? Not just people, but obviously small businesses.
Well, having been through, the economic downfall in 2008, 2009, what we saw was a lot of people didn't come back, unfortunately. A lot of people, it changed everything. I mean, I was one of the lucky ones because, I had a good enough accountant that actually told me and he knew that it was coming. So I kind of prepared myself for it, and I was able to downsize before it hit. And because of that, I was able to survive. But and I think a lot of it's going to come down to the same type of thing now. But the stimulus package that they released could very well change that outcome. I think there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be able to hold off some for a longer time. I mean, our economy has been the envy of the world, and especially in the last 2 years. And I think it's going to come back strong.
And just touching on what you just said there, do you have any advice to the guys who obviously myself, I was in the military at that time, 2008, so I wasn't affected as much as other people. But do you have any advice that you got in that time that you can relate to some of us that we should start doing moving forward for the next time, if this is our first time kind of experience ourselves?
Well, when here it comes down to, it's like, there's always going to be a little bit of work happening, right? And quite frankly, people work with people they like. So if you're new to this business or if you've been in this business for a year, for a little while, you can understand that. And if you do your job, people who don't complain and get things done and are good to be, are people like being around, and you're clean looking and you're a pro, you're going to have a better chance of getting hired when there's not a lot of work because people like you. So that in itself is something good to be prepared for in the future. If you're somebody who has an attitude, you're not going to get that call, right? But number two is plan. As a freelancer, we all have to plan for the dead months. Well, you know what? It's good. It's a really good idea to plan for, for something like this to happen to us. And that's across the board. That should be for anyone, to have enough reserve in the bank to at least handle yourself or take care of your bills for 6 months. It's not easy to do, but it can be done.
And I want to jump on that real quick. Any of the guys in the industry that aren't doing that, anybody you ask in the industry who's been a pro or been doing as long as Bob, they all tell you that information. And now you're going to start realizing real quickly. And again, I hate to be the devil's advocate here. You're going to realize real fast why everybody says that, because they've been through this and they know what it is. And if you're in South Florida, summertimes we die out. Having that reserve and not just relying on that money that paycheck to paycheck is a huge deal. And now you're seeing why that's a huge deal, because now you're sitting on 6 months of money versus I got nothing now after the next week.
Yeah, and it is a tough thing, especially in the South Florida market. And unfortunately, 50% of people in this country live paycheck to paycheck, but that you can't overcome that.
Yeah, and it takes time. It's nothing overnight. it definitely takes time to do it. I definitely 2 years ago went down that path, did the whole business thing correctly, from my mentors and listening. It took me about 2 years to get a nice little nest egg built up. And that's really what saved my butt right now.
There you go. Glad to hear that.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Not many people can say that, Omar. We talk about people living day to day and week to week. It is a tough time being a freelancer, being an independent contractor, being a small business. All these things affect everyone differently, and how you've saved up to this point, if you have, is night and day difference, regardless of the federal assistance that may or may not be coming. And it's a real big deal. That passes me on to the next point, Bob, about the specialized small business package. I believe it was just passed. I've been watching news. I've been kind of trying to stay away from some of it because a lot of it's just more of the same, or it's kind of depressing, honestly. I like to stay informed. In terms of it passing, if it hasn't already, can you just tell us a little bit about it, who can apply for it, and if even yourself has applied?
Yes. Well, you know what? The first thing I did was, like everyone else, this year started incredibly well. I mean, I was on an airplane January 2nd, and I didn't. And up until the time that when this started, I mean, I can't even tell you how many shows I've done, but and how many I was at least 7 cities, in those 2 months. So, this year was looking to be a fantastic year. So everything came to a screeching halt. So the first thing that I did was, is I used my network. I used my network of people and guys. For the younger guys, it's all about who you know. Okay, it's one of the rules of life, one of the rules of business. It's all about who you know. Use the people that you know. Stay in touch with your people, because the first thing I did was I reached out to my CPA, and he knew he had one of the guys that he does taxes for, runs a company that helps small businesses prepare packages to submit to the Small Business Administration. So that's the first thing that I did, and so and I did indeed reach out to a company that are absolute pros, masters at preparing a package to submit to the SBA to take advantage of the disaster loans that were just passed. All right, the part of the stimulus package.
Right.
So now the devil is in the details with these loans. They're not easy to get because of the amount of paperwork that you have to do for it. So I have a rule of thumb that I've been using for years and years and years. I mean, we're all creatives in this business. We like doing things ourselves because we're that's just the way we are in this. Majority of us in this industry. But I leave the pro to the pro stuff, the pro stuff to the pros. So even though I'm capable of putting a bunch of paperwork together, my time is better spent doing other things. So I actually found somebody who's a professional to put my package together, that knows the ins and outs of everything that the government's going to require for me to get that loan. So that's what I did. So I have indeed, already started that, and I've been preparing all the paperwork that they need on my end, so I can get that submitted. So I have done it. What I can tell you is that there's several things that I know about. There is a economic injury disaster loan, which has to do with two types of different loan programs that the SBA has. Again, there's another one that would help you with payroll protection, that they're going to be allowing small businesses to take up to, I think it's 8 weeks of payroll plus expenses for the business.
Right.
And I'm not sure if that money is going to be forgiven. I'm waiting to hear about that, but I understand that there is some part of it that will be given away. That, in other words, you don't have to pay back. I myself, and I'm anticipating that this is going to go on several months. So I'm looking for a bigger amount of money that's going to cover me and to pick up, for my losses that I have, because all the for the next 2-3 months at least, I've lost the bigger shows that I handle that are repeat shows, from every year. So that's a hard hit. So it's for me, it's beyond just the payroll. It's other stuff as well.
And let me ask just spoke about, is that the one? It's like the 10K and then the 4% if you run it to pay for your payrolls. Is that the one we're talking? That just one.
You know what? Somebody sent me something not too long ago about something that the state of Florida is doing, which will indeed, like they're telling me that it's like $10,000 and it's forgiven. So what I am, and while I hear that's being funded quickly in a couple of days, what I wish I could say that $10,000 is going to be a big enough Band-Aid to recoup the losses for 4 or 5 months, but it's nowhere near that. So I'm waiting to hear from the guy that, the company that I hired, or that to do my package, to see if that's going to have any effect on me getting the loan that I'm going after with the SBA.
I just want to add to everybody listening to this that those links are going to be on AV Educate within the podcast that we're talking about. So everything we're referring to, you'll have a link to kind of get yourself there. I also want to add that, again, like we've been saying over and over again, we are not the legal advice. We are just, very knowledgeable people, and we're trying to expand that to you guys. But this is very good advice, and thank you for all that, Bob.
Yeah. If I could add something really quick to you guys, who run small businesses. There was a time when I had, like 5 employees, and, I had a warehouse and big operation going. And, but now, I'm running basically a consulting company, and, but I still run big jobs, but I like working smaller. It's more profitable for me, but anyhow, I can't emphasize the importance of running your company professionally. Keep up on balancing your books, and keep up with doing your taxes. Get yourself a really good CPA, because when something like this does happen, that's when you need to have everything squared away, so you don't have any roadblocks to getting assistance. Because the guys who haven't done taxes, that's a hurdle that you're going to have to get around. And when it's coming down to survival, you can't afford that.
Oh, not at all. That's a really interesting point you bring up. And in terms of people, if we're being real here, should certain technicians or maybe people in the industry try to find new ways to use their skills for making a living, during this downtime, or maybe just look for a new line of work completely? What are your thoughts on that, Bob?
Well, I one of the things that I did learn from 2008, 2009 is always to have something else, that's a good plan B or a backup. Mm-hmm. So, and I learned as well that the average millionaire has like 7 streams of income. So what that told me is be diverse, and being a freelancer in this business here, it's all about the hustle too, right? So it's about hustling, and it's about, our industry is really big and vast, mm-hmm. and we can utilize our skills to different segments in the industry. So I myself, what I did was I knew I needed to get different multiple streams going. So one of the other things that I did was I became a dealer for like 2 or 3 lines of LED products. So I actually sell LED walls. And it doesn't take a lot of time to do it. I rely on the people that I know in my network and by word of mouth to do sales. But you know what? At the end of the day, at the end of the year, it's a good amount of income that I didn't have before. So, it's all about hustling. And so I do recommend guys to think about, and to always think about it and explore other ways that you could make some money from home while in your industry. So you're not totally sitting on the bench when something like this happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Bob, what was your professional opinion on the industry right now? How do you think we're gonna come back strong quickly, or is it gonna take a long time now?
Yeah, I think it's gonna come back. I mean, this is the amount of money that the government is backing everybody up with is hard to believe. I mean, $2 trillion, man, just to start is like, it's crazy. It's a crazy amount of money. It's like 2,000 billion, right? So that's a lot of money. But everybody was the engine was roaring, and everybody's making a lot of money, and I just don't see people willing to lay down and be run over. So I think it's going to come back really strong. And it's to be seen how quick, but I think that we're going to get a lot of pop-ups because people need to do business, so be ready for it.
That's a positive thing. I'm glad you said that, Bob, really, because it's hard to gauge how soon it's coming back, if it's going to be as strong when it does come back. Is this season just shot for good until next year? For you personally, is there any talk of work for you on the horizon? And how do people like hotel planners and production companies, reschedule all these canceled shows?
Well, they're going into April and May they're big months for me because I do work with a lot of nonprofits. So I've been doing shows for years. So just looking at that from that aspect, I've been speaking with these event producers on how to overcome this and get around this, because the reality is that everything in September, October, November, and pretty much December in Miami, all the space is booked.
Okay.
All right. So trying to book venues within a short time frame, is difficult, especially when the economy was so strong when it was as strong as it was. So right off the bat, I don't think things have been canceled in August, September, October, November. So how are they going to find space to do these meetings? So what's the alternative?
It's interesting because you're saying they can't reschedule if there's already shows in their place during those time periods.
Right, because I and working and planning these events with my clients, while we're loading in the show, we're already talking about the dates for the next year. You know what I mean? That's pretty typical of what's happening, or even before that. While we're still in the planning process, we're looking at 1 year out because that's how busy a market South Florida or Orlando and any of the big cities within the circuit are. In Dallas, it's hard to get space. So it's interesting to be seen how that's going to be handled. But one of the things that I've been doing, and what I saw right away was to doing the type of thing that to do virtual meetings, or maybe do a virtual show to do the fundraising.
Yes.
So I've already been talking to a couple of clients that the events have canceled in April and May, but how do you go about maybe doing a virtual thing where we could do a controlled environment, use the controlled environment so we can do some entertainment and do the event, but do it virtually and do some marketing, help the client do the marketing online so they can get, do that online virtual event to see if they can pick up the fundraising on that side.
Yeah. I'll add to this. I'm really glad to hear that you're already starting to do planning stuff. I told everybody I've been talking to on my end that, if we don't see anything by April as far as planning goes, we're not going to see anything until August, which is still semi-true, but at least, you guys are already doing plannings for next year. So the industry is going to come back, and next year is probably a good indicator for it. And then, Mike, I don't want to jump on you again, man, but like the lightning round, that's your little segment there. So I don't want to take it over from you, but
no, that's all good, Omar. There's some very good points that Bob is making, and honestly, I think it's important that he's able to get that out. And anything you got to say, it's important that everyone hears it here. That's what we're here for, to spread the information and make sure the wealth of knowledge gets out there to everybody.
Indeed. What winners never quit and quitters never win. Just remember that, everybody. All right.
I like that.
Even when you're down, man, you can't stop, man.
Keep fighting.
You got to find a way. Always find a way.
Real quick before we keep going, do you have anything that we haven't covered that you want to talk about that you think would help somebody out that's listening right now that we should ask or haven't asked?
Well, no, but what I would say is that this industry is huge, but at the same time it's small. The guys have been doing this for a couple of years. You have friends in this business. Don't be afraid to reach out to your friends. Stay in contact. Find out what's going on. It's information and information sharing is key. There's no reason to spread panic or anything like that, but find out what other people are doing, man. And don't be afraid to help out. Don't be afraid to give some good information to others that can help others out, because it will come back to you always. So if somebody who's having a real hard time, try to help them out. Try to guide them along, because there are people that are really scared and terrified, and not knowing what's going to happen, whether or not they're going to have a house in 2 months. So I would say you rely on your network. Rely on the people that you know, because there's always a way to get things going. So
I like that, Bob.
And I definitely believe in that as well. As anybody knows me, I'm the guy who started AV Educate, and I've been offering training classes online and offering resources for other classes. And, I've just been nonstop the last almost 2 weeks, just almost hourly posting about what I'm finding about classes online. I just did a decimator class at the beginning of it. I did a Playwright Pro class just now, and I had 100 people watching it, and I got a lot of good feedback on it. And I did it just like we're doing here, and it was very interactive, and I let guys communicate with me and stuff. I do believe in what you're saying, because I've seen it. Running AV Educate, I've seen the return on it. Not financially or anything like that, but I've seen the return and with the people I'm talking to and the people I'm working with. And this podcast in general is, having you guys here and talking with us has been awesome. And this is with our small little network we have that we've built over the years. So I just want to not shamelessly plug AV Educate in there, but I just want to bring that up that, as the founder of that program and all this is kind of, why I'm doing this, because I'm listening to my community, I'm listening to the guys, and the three of us here wanted to, or the six of us here, we wanted to really just push out and help everybody out with those information, because everybody's posting and it's all different. It's all, it's all hearsay, but the best advice I think, that Bob, you gave out, and it's something that I didn't do to the last about year, I'd say, to be honest. And maybe Mike's a little bit different because of his situation. I did not have an accountant until last year, and I filed my taxes last year. I know I had a QuickBooks and everything, and I filed TurboTax. So if anybody's doing that process, good job. Get the accountant. It's part of your write-offs.
Absolutely.
And what ended up happening is that because I did it on my own, like you're saying, I always want to do everything on my own, and I can do the paperwork, I could do the work, I was doing all the bookkeeping. I ended up filing, even though I extended it and did everything correctly within QuickBooks, I ended up missing a step with them, and I ended up filing super late because they didn't file it for me. Even though I did the extension, I did all that stuff. I'd missed one step with them, and then there was no communication, and I didn't keep up on it because we're all traveling, we're busy. I ended up having to file almost at the end of the year to submit my taxes, and I ended up paying a penalty for that. And that's a simple thing that if I had an accountant on board like I have now, she was at the end of this year already saying, send me your stuff now for taxes and we'll get you ready to go. And before everything went down, I mean, my books were all good to go. My taxes were good to go. Everything was ready to go, and I was going to get money back and all this stuff. And then everything got extended and everything. And now her and me have been talking about weekly now, which I usually talk to her quarterly about different things going on. And she's been informing me, like you're saying, and having that person, that legal advice to tell you, hey, these options are good for you. These options aren't good for you. And just my business structure in general, and learning about things that, I was paying taxes for things that I don't qualify for because I'm a single member LLC who S Corp, and I couldn't apply at the time for unemployment because I am my own employee. I don't have two employees. Like little things like that, I would have known, because I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CPA. I'm an engineer. But having her on my team with me has been huge, and I can't stress that enough. And I'm glad you brought that up because of all what was going on. But anyways, I don't want to talk too much here, man. Sorry, Mike. Again, I keep taking over your lightning round, bro.
Hey, not a problem. Or that was some really good information. I'm glad you said that. The lightning round can always wait for good information. I have no problem with sharing that knowledge, and I'm glad you did that. So thank you very much. Bob, we do have a part in the show called the lightning round. Basically, I will ask you a total of 5 questions, and you got 5 seconds to answer each. Does that sound easy enough?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right. So, when we are taking breaks while we're working hard, whether that's loading in or on show days, would you rather have the client feed you for a 30-minute provided lunch or walk away with the guys for an hour?
Client provided for sure. Save the money, network.
There's nothing wrong with that. Generally, too, the food that they're going to be feeding you is probably better than what you're going to get elsewhere as well. So there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm with you on that one. Now, we all travel a lot. You said yourself, you did it quite a bit amount this year before things obviously died as they are now. But would you rather go a direct flight on something like Spirit Airlines or a connecting flight on your preferred airline?
Oh, I would say time is money. I would take Spirit and upgrade to get on first and get a good seat.
I don't know if have you ever been on first in Spirit? It's really not much of first.
No, it's not a first. I'm saying it's like to get to preferred, like in the first group, whatever it is.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I'd rather get there quicker.
I'm with you on that one. Sometimes layovers can be fun. Sometimes they drag on, and sometimes you just never leave that airport because something happens one way or the other.
Exactly.
So I'm kind of with you on that one. I always like taking my preferred, I fly American, and but Spirit, yeah, I've had bad experiences, but haven't we all? Either way, not to bash them. I know you talked about a lot of physical health, goes along with mental health as well. Are you a big fan of yoga and meditation? And if you are, which one would you say? I mean, I know they kind of go hand in hand. It's kind of a tough question.
And doing a lot of personal development, I've learned how to meditate. And I got to tell you, it's effective. It's really effective. So especially in our business where our minds are running like 1,000 miles an hour, and we have so many things that we're doing, and we're always on the go. I think when I learned how to do it, it's like 20 minutes of meditation is equal to 90 minutes of sleep.
Wow.
So I use an app called Breathe.
What's it called?
Breathe. BREETHE.
I need to start using that because my brother's big in getting into meditation, and yoga I've started doing recently, but I can't stretch the way I used to, say 10 years ago, But meditation, I think we can all do no matter what your age is or what your physical capabilities are, because it's just it's a mental
and it
thing.
works. It's about mindset, and we all deal with characters in this business, especially in this business. So, and especially and then we're all going through now. We might not realize it. We're all tough warriors on the outside, but this pandemic is beating us up inside, no matter what. So,
yes, mental health is super important right now for everyone, because as we start to get a little cabin fever and everyone's wondering what can we do, obviously the money might not be there for a lot of people, federal assistance or not. Mental health is super important. So stuff like yoga, meditation, working out, just keeping your mental health up there so we don't all go crazy. That's a really important point, especially given the time period that we're in. So I appreciate you giving me that information for myself personally, because I want to look into that.
Oh, you know what? My neighbor just told me that Peloton has a meditation app that's free right now.
Really?
Even if you don't have the machine. But I heard the app is very good. And she's a psychiatrist, so I think that's a good recommendation.
She knows her stuff. If she's a psychiatrist, I would take her definitely her information there. I'll look into that, Bob. Thank you. Next question.
I just want to throw in there real quick. If
Sure.
you didn't know, I'm a big yoga guy. I love yoga.
Yeah, down dog.
Yeah, I work out, but I'm with Bob. I'm big on yoga. Just to stay flexible, especially as you get older, keeping your joints, flexible and stern, and keeping your body, aligned and proper. I think is a big part of why I stay in shape for so long.
I like that. Listen, I need to start doing both a little more because, like we said, mental health is so important all the time, let alone a time like this where we're so not used to just sitting and not doing much. So that's very important. Getting on to the next question in this lightning round. If there was two scenarios, Bob, and these are both kind of tricky, but you'd have to basically take the lesser of the two evils. If you could either be late to work or show up wearing the wrong emblem, for the company shirt. Say you show up and it's like a different company. Which do you think is worse?
I would say make sure you're on time and wear the shirt inside out.
Or covered over maybe with gaff tape.
That's it, gaff tape, or wear your jacket, because we all have a jacket with us. It's not cold.
No, that's great too. And if you had to choose between two different, really one's a county, one's a city, but if we're looking at Kendall versus Broward, this is also sent in by one of our listeners. Broward.
I picked Broward County. I used to live on the north side of Fort Lauderdale on the water, and when I got married to my wife Denise, she was a captain at the Biltmore. So that extra 35 minutes, from like the close to Hollywood county line, we picked Hollywood, so closer to Miami, and I would say Broward. I'm right in the middle in Florida, in Hollywood.
Wow, very nice.
Hey, so last thing real quick, guys, before I do my little spill to wrap this up a little bit, I want to just introduce again one more time Eddie, and let me know if you have anything you want to add right before we close out this whole session.
I'm good. I'm just surviving over here, man. Just staying inside. I want to make sure that I come out of this,
No, you're definitely coming out of this, brother. We'll see each other on the other side. And what about you, AJ? Before we wrap up again, do you have anything else that we missed that we didn't talk about, or you want to bring up something to the viewers of the audience?
I just want to know what the guests are watching on Netflix right now. Everyone watching the Tiger King?
Ozark. The new season of Ozark is out.
Ozark is out, yeah. So we'll add that in the podcast. Put that in the comments for you guys. And last thing, Bob, one more time. Is there anything else that we've missed that we haven't talked about that you want to bring up to the audience, to the viewers?
Not at all. But don't be overwhelmed if you are a small business guy that's running. That you started your LLC or your S corp, and you don't have a lot of knowledge on doing the accounting. Call your accountant to find out if he can help you put the package together for the SBA loan. I mean, some of the stuff is going to be forgiven, so it could be $20,000. $20,000, it's going to go a long way. So don't give up. That's what I'm saying.
Gotcha. I like that. Mike, you got anything else before we wrap it up?
This has been such a great talk with everyone. Starting off with Eddie, going to all the great information we got from AJ, and then finishing up with Bob. I think that was a great dynamic collective trio that we had there, and I hope our viewers were able to learn a lot from that. I know I did personally, and I know you probably did as well, Omar, so I can only imagine what everyone out there is going to do after this as well when they hear from it, because listen, you need to start making moves here. These are tough times. We will get through it. There is light at the end of the tunnel. The grass is always greener on the other side. We've been through worse, not in terms of this sense, but we will get through it and times will become better. And I do appreciate all of you taking the time to speak with Omar and I on the Mo Show. This has been a wonderful talk. We do want to have each of you back sometime in the future. We do have a long 2 months ahead of us here, so we'll see what goes on from there. But really, to each one of you, thank you for all the vast knowledge and wealth of information that you gave to myself and Omar and all the viewers. It was really incredible to hear all your individual perspectives and viewpoints.
And again, one more person I got to bring up to this that I feel deserves a lot of credit for kind of keeping us on track here tonight is a buddy of mine, Jack. If he wants to chime in real quick and just say thank you for putting us together, keeping us on track, keeping us on time, putting this awesome script so that we would all follow through it.
Yeah, Jack.
Yeah, you got it. Hey, guys, thanks for having me on board. But I'm really appreciative to AJ and Bob and Eddie, you guys coming on board and really filling us in. It seems like the industry in general is feeling this. And I know Omar through AV Educate expressed through us the concerns that he has and that the people around him had. And that really made it significant. And like I said, I think you guys were the mentors that helped me figure out my SBA plan. So I think this is why the platform got together. And I really look forward to hearing from you guys again. I think we should do a recap at some moment to see where we're all at.
I like that a lot. So again, thank you everybody for being here so much. If you're new to this podcast, we pretty much primarily focus on AV Educates. It's a free online resource for you guys to get education on. And right now we are doing tons of free education for the community. But yeah, so that's about it. Thank you again for everybody for being here. Thank you, Mike, for everything you've done. Thank you, Jack, for keeping us on board. Thanks, AJ. Thanks, Eddie. Thanks, Bob, so much for being here, man. It's really good to see you in the flesh and hear your voice again. So that's about it, guys.
Absolutely.
I just want to wrap up and say thank you for the third time here. I want to say that if you haven't tuned into us on AV Educate, please go in and mark in there. If you haven't connected with these guys, their names are in there. I suggest you LinkedIn them and make them part of your networks, because like we're all telling you, this is all about the networks and who you know and recommendations. And I can say it 1,000 times, and I can't tell you, guys, don't fall through on that. But that is the most important part of this industry. Like everybody says, is that if you have the right connections and you're someone people want to work with, you're gonna get work. And right now we're all struggling together. And if you guys have any things, please reach out. Like we're saying, reach out to your friends, reach out to your family. Don't stay in a room isolated 24/7. Reach out to somebody and ask for just have a talk. Trust me, everybody wants to have a talk right now.
We look forward to our next talk as well. So please tune in next time. Until then, Omar, it's been a great talk. It's been a great talk with everyone. We look forward to the next one.
Cool. So thank you everybody for tuning into the Mo Show with Omar Cullum and Mike Leitchen today. See you guys on the next one.